Yes, guys, welcome back to the United Stand. I'm Sander Seegers. We're back. We're back here with another episode. First episode, actually, of this series. And we're here with the guys at Toffee TV. Ped, how you doing, pal?
I'm okay. Not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
Good stuff. Well, we're going to be previewing the Everton versus Manchester United match this Sunday, of course. Obviously, we've got you guys, big Everton fans. Can you tell us, first of all, a little bit about your channel and what sort of thing that you guys do?
Bit like yourselves, really. Just we're a professional fan channel. We do it for a living. It's our jobs, which is great. Which means we can put a lot of time into it. We can do all the things people expect from a very good. We call it independent media. We don't like the fan channel thing because I think that gives a disservice to what we do. Because we all know we put a lot of time into these things. So we call it independent media, and you know we follow our club just like you follow your club, trying to give the best possible news, best possible reactions. We don't do watch-alongs though, because they end up on the internet and they're bad, and I don't want to see myself crying for someone else's humour.
And you've done a lot of that, haven't you, Everton fans, crying? As have we, to be fair, United fans. A lot of crying over the recent years.
Oh, behave yourselves. Because you haven't won a trophy for about 10 minutes. Go on. Try 26 years and come back to me. That's when you know what real heartache is.
Yeah, does that irritate you when like United fans sit up on their sort of pedestal and go, oh, we've had it really tough for the last 5 years and we've still won a Europa League, an FA Cup, this and that? It
does, only because I'm old enough to remember, like, before Manchester United won all the trophies, and like, you know, when Sir Alex Ferguson came, and I'm old enough to remember all that, where Manchester United only won maybe a couple of trophies for 20 odd years like ourselves. So when you see Manchester United winning all the trophies through the years, which by the way didn't bother me, by the way, because you know anything that really hurts Liverpool fans, I like. I'm all for that. So when seeing Man United winning all those trophies, you know, was fantastic. But it's football. Everything goes round in a circle, and you're having a lean spell for your club.
Yeah.
But so when I see people going, "Oh, this is terrible," so it's a bit like the Arsenal fans, you know, 3 FA Cups in like 7 years, and they're like, "Oh," and you're like, "Yeah, come back, mate," when you haven't won a trophy for 26 years, and everyone has this thing where they think you're like. This is the other thing with what we do. Is everyone like looks at Everton as like we're this like little small tin pot club? It's like no, we're like one of the biggest clubs in England. But unfortunately, this generation has never seen us win anything. So that's really hard to take. But yeah, you should all stop crying. If anyone's caused this, it's Manchester United themselves and really, really bad decisions that have led to you being in the situation you're in.
Yeah. You've got Ancelotti in there now, obviously. Things were looking they still are looking good for you in relation to what Everton have been, you know, over the last couple of years. You know, you're sitting in fourth. You've got Ancelotti in. You've got a top manager there. How are you feeling about the start of the season and the season that you've had so far?
Listen, if someone had said to me at the beginning of the season that we were gonna, you know, lose a couple of the first 7, and we'd win, you know, 4 games, and we'd be sitting fourth, I'd be all for it. I'd be thinking that's a brilliant start to the season. It's just because the 2 defeats have come back to back that have they've been our last 2 games, but that leaves a little bit of a negative on it. But it's been a good start, and what I would say is, you know, in terms of the last 2 games, is we've been without some of our best players. In fact, on Sunday against Newcastle, we were without 5 of our first team, and that's when you're trying to become a team that's trying to get into Europe, and you're spending a little bit of money, and you've got a good manager. It takes time, especially now with the financial fair play, where you can't go and just do a City or do a Chelsea. You've got to do it very, very slowly. And if you scratch below our first team, our squad's really poor.
Yeah.
But our first team, if it's, you know, which we saw in the first few games, is good, and I think will give most teams a game on the day. So it'll just be a case of, certainly for Saturday, who we have back. And if we get our first team back in the next few weeks, I think we'll be all right again. But too many of our players who below that surface are simply not good enough.
And that I think's the difference, isn't it, for, you know, between the top clubs and, you know, not to disrespect Everton, but you know, the big 6 of what you've got the idea of the big 6, and the sort of level slightly below that. And you look at the likes of maybe Leicester when they had that amazing season, even last year to an extent. You know, if you are a club in that next tier below the top 6, you're going to have a little bit of luck with injuries and things like that, because the nature of those clubs are the fact that you haven't necessarily got the riches to go out and build an amazing squad at the moment, you know. So if you do get a couple of injuries or suspensions like you have done so far, you might see a slight sort of turn in form. You have seen a turn in form.
Yeah.
What have you made of that turn in form, and how do you feel going into Saturday?
You know, it's a home game. Manchester United have been, well, what a strange start for Manchester United. You know, tremendous in the Champions League, terrible at home, and have done all right away from home in the Premier League. But for us, it's a case of, especially before that international break, trying to grab a win and keeping ourselves, because, you know, we've lost a couple, but if we were to win on Saturday, we'd be right back in there. In fact, if we'd beaten Newcastle, that would have put us back top of the league. I mean, that's the irony of the situation. I know it's still early in the season, but I think about now, it's about staying on the coattails of all those teams around the top four. And that's what we have to do, and I think that's why Saturday's such an important game for us, and obviously it's an important game for Manchester United as well, because you want to get back, you want to get in, start being around that, because especially this time of year, you look at the league and there's, you know, there's a team at the top, I can't remember who they are, but you look at the table and you look to like ninth place and you think, well, there's only a win and a draw. Yeah, it's like a win and a draw, isn't it? So you've got to keep yourself in there, and I think that's why it's important, especially going into the international break. Hopefully we'll have a few back, and hopefully we'll show a little bit more of what we actually are, rather than what we've shown the last few weeks, where we've been a little bit negative. And as you mentioned, we've had suspensions and key players injured, like James Rodriguez and Seamus Coleman, who's a really important player to us this season as well. So I'm like, any game I look forward to, and sometimes, you know, as an Evertonian, you'd have to look at every game and think, well, whatever happens. We've got no divine right to win this game. Yeah. And you know, sometimes it can come down to, as I said, who's available for you, or who's coming off the bench for you. So, but I'm looking forward to Saturday. I think it could be a good game.
Yeah, it's definitely a good game. You know, interestingly, as you say, usually, you know, United, this is a game that you expect to win, but it's different circumstances now going into this game, because if anything, I'm not a betting man, but if I were to put my money on it, something at the moment, you'd probably go with Everton, right? Because they, so far this season, have been the better team, or better than United at least. There's a lot to lose for United, and I think that could actually be to the detriment of Everton, because, as you say, we've got to get in. We need to win this game. If we don't win this game, what would that be? 7 points after 7 games, I think, like that, something like that. Yeah. And that, like, 7 points after 6 games, bad. 7 points after 7 games for Manchester United will be catastrophic, and the pressure will start to really, really mount on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So he needs to win this game. How do you see it go? I mean, we'll get to the predictions later, but are you confident?
I honestly couldn't sit here and say I'm confident, because I know Manchester United are a good side, and I know actually playing away suits them more than playing at home. Yeah. You know, Manchester United have got some tremendous players. I just don't think this season the blend is right for whatever reason. You know, you never got your key targets that you wanted to get. Yeah. And I think it just doesn't seem like the blend's right at the moment. But maybe when you play away and you're playing on the counter-attack, it suits Manchester United more. Certainly does. I think, you know, this actual game's probably got a draw written all over it. Yeah. And I think both sides might, even though it's here, I think both sides would take a draw, because it would get us out of a little bit of a losing slump. And for you, it's like, especially if you get especially, you know, with what's happening in Europe, it just, before that international break, you just want something, a little bit of a bit of positivity before going into the international break. And it's difficult for Man United, it's difficult for all the teams playing in Europe, you know, because you're all playing in the midweek and then playing on the Saturday and Sunday, and you're coming up against teams that have had a whole week who are fresh. Yeah. And I think that's the difficulty as well for Man United. And I could see this being a draw, personally. It's the other side of it is, football at the moment to me doesn't feel real. No. I just feel like, it's just like when the lockdown football came back, I was all right with that. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wanted it, like all of us, I wanted it null and voided would have been the best scenario. We all know that. But it felt like it was a novelty, whereas now I think all of us, all fans, certainly ones who go, you know, week in and week out, are starting to feel like this isn't real football. And I actually think it's starting to affect games of football as well. I've coined this phrase, the penalty, you know, the penalty, VAR scream, you know, where you see Mo Salah, when he gets touched, it's, you know, it's like, because it's an empty stadium, everyone hears it. Yeah. You're not getting half of those penalties. So there's a lot of like little subtle differences, I feel, in these games. People are getting soft penalties. Yeah. It's just, it feels so sanitised and negative, and it's not proper football.
Like, I mean, I love football, right? And this is the first year. I'm up here in Manchester. As you can tell, I'm not a sort of born and bred Manc, right? But
I've not noticed. I've not noticed. I mean, the accent gives away that you are a Manchester United fan, but I've not noticed.
But so obviously, I'm up here for university. Been a United fan all my life. We can get into that at some point. But
fine.
And I've got this the first season. I got a season ticket, right? And I was so excited to just go week in, week out at home. And what happens is a bloody deadly virus that's going around from China. But I'm actually starting to like. I like football, but my enjoyment and my passion for it is decreasing slightly, and I think that's not a trendy thing to say as a fan, because you can almost, especially when you're online like this, people can come at you and say, "Oh, you know, you don't love the club." I do love the club, but it's, as you say, it's a sanitised version of it's not. It's a different version of the football that I love, and especially when United aren't doing well, it's easy to go, "Oh, you know, let's move on from that a little bit," you know.
But it's certainly fair. I mean, I think our two clubs are very representative of clubs that, when our crowds get behind us, it can change a game of football. Time. You know, how many times have Man United gone into games at Old Trafford when they're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go and they turn it round and they get a win? Yeah. And I think we're quite similar to that. We you know, our crowd will do something similar. And I just feel at the moment it's just like I'm watching every Everton game, but I'll be honest, I don't watch anyone else. I sometimes switch games and going, it's Paris Saint-Germain versus Man United, and then you get to the game and go, it's
flaccid, isn't it? Flaccid.
Yeah, it's like, it's just so flat, and you just go, I can hear everything everyone's saying, and I'm just like, oh no, I can't be arsed with this. So I can't wait till I can go back in a stadium. As much as you know, watching Everton and following Everton can be hard work at times, but that's the same for any football fan. But it's the experience of going the game which makes football, and especially when you haven't won anything for a while, it becomes about all those little things in football. It goes about the experience of football, the away days with your mates on the coach and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And when you're just sitting at home and you're just watching a game, and then I find it very, very hard to just get off for some of these games, but hopefully at some point this season things will start changing.
Absolutely, mate. You look at your start to this. I mean, I was going to say, by the way, can you imagine you like did something this season, even top 4, you know, and you can't be in the ground to experience it? How shit is that, right?
It is, but I mean, if Everton
you take it.
If Everton got top 4 and it was because we weren't in the ground, then I'd take it. Yeah. Just for this season, I'd take that.
And then, mate, next season, Champions League, hopefully you'll be in the ground. You'll be watching fucking Everton PSG.
Exactly, yeah. Full on Champions League anthems going off, and we'll all be there. And no, you know, it's weird, because some of our players you think may have responded better to not having fans there because the pressure's been off them personally, but. You know, let's just hope it doesn't continue too long. So then going into this game, then again, obviously this is the preview for the match. We can't talk about that too long. Strengths and weaknesses, Everton. For the United fans that are watching this, obviously it's gone out in the United stand, that don't watch Everton week in, week out. Like you say, you don't really tend to watch other games of football now that it's all a bit flaccid. Can you tell us a little about your Everton side, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, etc.? Strengths, get the ball into Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and you know you've seen that the last couple of seasons. He scored against Man United home and away last season, didn't he? And really should have got the winner. Cruelly disallowed through VAR last season at Goodison Park. Get the ball. He scored. You know, he's become a penalty box striker now. And you get the ball in around the box. He's not one of those, he's not like a Harry Kane or a Rashford who'll pick the ball up outside the box and take people on. He's someone now who's a penalty box striker. So if you get chances in for him, he'll, you know, if you get 3, he'll take 1. That generally comes from James Rodriguez, who's started the season brilliantly. Cruelly sived down by Virgil van Dijk. All the talk of Virgil van Dijk and Jordan Pickford, nonsense. He caused that himself, right? Reckless he was on Jordan Pickford. You won't hear this narrative anywhere else. Right? Reckless he was. He jumped, watch the still. He jumps in on Jordan Pickford. He's defending himself like any real goalkeeper would do. But early on that game, Virgil van Dijk, before that happened, well, obviously before that happened because he couldn't walk and he still can't, but before that happened, he kicked James Rodriguez straight in the bollocks. Yeah. Right? Honestly, first thing he did in the game. Yeah. And James Rodriguez has not really recovered. He played at Southampton last week. No, honestly, he hasn't.
His manhood's been taken away from him.
He played at Southampton last week, and honestly, he was like a pimp with a limp. He was just dragging the leg behind him all game. And then they left him out the Newcastle game because he's still suffering from it. But if he plays on Saturday, he will make chances because he's world class. He's still world class.
How did you get him for fucking... Was it free you got him?
Yeah, we got him for free.
How the bloody hell did you manage that, mate?
It's who you know, isn't it? It's who you know these days. You know, you just... No, listen, I think Carlo's the man. That's what Carlo brings you as the manager. He can attract these players. It's why you try and bring in world-class managers. It's something maybe Man United should try. It's... No, but a manager like Carlo Ancelotti can attract a player like him, and Real Madrid obviously didn't feel like he had anything left in him, and probably no one else did. Probably thought he was injury prone or whatever. But he's been amazing for us. So he's a massive strength. We won't have Richarlison, so that'll be a weakness on the left.
Big.
Last game's... We've never won a game that we've played without Richarlison while he's been at the club.
Wow. Which
is an incredible stat.
Wow.
He's an immense player. So the left-hand side will be a weakness because no one can replace him. And I think it depends... The centre-backs, I think, they started the season quite well, but they're both stoppers. They're both Harry Maguires.
Yeah.
Except they haven't got heads the size of Harry Maguire. There's no pace. There's no pace at the back. And this is what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is people getting behind them with a little bit of pace. So I think that Rashford and Martial and, you know, that Greenwood, their pace does worry me going into those areas. And if we've got no Seamus Coleman as well, we've got no real right back of note. So to me, the weaknesses of when obviously have come from the injuries. Our starting 11 that started the season is quite good. I mean, it got us to 4 Premier League wins in a row and 3 in the League Cup. But as I said before, it's those squad players. But I do think the centre back position, if you put a little bit of pace, if you can get behind our centre backs, isolate and get 1-on-1, that's where I think you'll have a lot of joy.
And that's the thing. That's what we're best at. That's actually what United are best at, mate. Martial's back for the first game. And I think Martial gets a lot of criticism, right? But you've actually seen United miss him over the last couple of games. You know, his hold-up play. He's not a hold-up play in the sense of, back to goal, I'm going to hold everyone off like an Olivier Giroud or someone like that who's going to be a target man. But just the ability to have someone up front that you can link in with, right, bounce off of, and he can just be a focal point and then touch and run in behind, that sort of thing. We've missed that so much at Manchester United at the moment. So it's his first game back, and I'm sure he's not scored in the league yet. He's only scored in the Champions League against Leipzig, and that was a penalty that Rashford probably should have taken. And he scored an own goal against PSG. Other than that, he's not scored, so he's going to be absolutely up for it against Everton. How do you think you'll play it? Do you think because it's at home, you're going to try and come out and play us, or do you think you'll try and sit back, let us have the ball? Because if you do that, as you say, you cover some of your weaknesses because then there's no space in behind. You know, how do you think you'll play it?
To be honest, I think again it comes down to personnel. Against Newcastle, we tried to play a little bit different and have a very narrow midfield and have the fullbacks making the width, gone away from what we've been playing as a 4-3-3. I think if we've got Seamus Coleman back and we've got James Rodriguez, we'll try and hit you, because what happens is James Rodriguez goes inside and becomes... He's starting on the right of a 3,
right,
but he goes inside and becomes like a number 10. And if you look like his heat maps and everything, it's more inside. And then Seamus Coleman makes up that room, and that's why we've missed Seamus Coleman so much, because whoever's been playing instead of him just can't do the job that he does. So it'll be a lot on James Rodriguez to become that number 10, become that creative player, and then he'll try and hit the left-hand side. And with Luca Dean back from suspension, big. He will overlap all day, and that ball from James Rodriguez to Luca Dean, you'll see that all the way through the game.
And then from Dean to Calvert-Lewin.
Exactly, and that's where we were getting a lot of joy. And with Richarlison coming inside, it was working perfectly, and we were scoring a lot of goals. But obviously, you take James, you take Richarlison on the team, that dried up. Seamus Coleman as well, that dried up. And even Luca Dean, who was suspended last week. So last week we found ourselves with none of our wing players and a very isolated Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I think we'll have a go, and then, but it could change. If we get in the lead, then we could start sitting back a little bit and giving you the ball and saying, well, break us down then. You know, we'll play the low block and say, well, come on then, break us down, get in behind us if you can. And that's maybe where that eliminates that speed, but then maybe brings a Bruno Fernandes in the team into the game to try and change that. And that's what I think Carlo Ancelotti's been quite good at, those little changes, subtle changes of formation and tactical approach. So it'll all be about who gets the first goal. Yeah. For me. And it always is, isn't it, really, now?
Yeah. Hopefully, David De Gea doesn't go and just give it to Calvert-Lewin so he can put it in the back of the net again, mate. Oh, that was so frustrating. To be fair, he looks like he's back on form. Like, you know, I don't understand, because in the Champions League, we look fucking mint, mate. We look really, really good. Yeah. You know, against PSG, I've seen a load of people slagging that off. Mate, we were the better team. We actually were the better side against PSG. And then you look at Leipzig, okay, that wasn't a 5-0 game, but you still go out and put 5 against the semi-finalists of the Champions League, you know. So it's just about converting that form to the league. And we have been better defensively since that Spurs game, which of course was just an absolute blowout and hopefully an anomaly. We got the draw against Chelsea. It wasn't a good game, but I think that was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and United trying to gain back a little bit of stability. You go into the Arsenal game and it's a sloppy penalty. Again, not a great game going forward from us, and not a great game, you know, in the whole. But still, it wasn't dreadful like it was against Spurs, you know. So I'm hoping that we can come back and start bringing that bloody Champions League form over into the Premier League, because, mate, we need it. I know the thing is, you always look back at, as I said, when you do videos online, everything you say is held accountable, and fans are naturally reactionary, right? We're just always going to be a bit reactionary, right? Because a bit after three league games, whether you said it or not, you're bloody thinking, oh God, you know, Everton might be in here, mate. We might be doing all right here. You're naturally reactionary, but I just hope that we can, United, back against Everton, get the win, and then we'll fucking kick on from there, because after Everton, we would have sort of passed that tough patch of games, because we had PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal, all these sort of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. We won't probably do a full combined 11, but are there any players that you think do get into that United side, or maybe flip it? Are there any United players that get into that Everton side?
I mean, listen, you know, the front three for Manchester United are fantastic, and I think they'd have a good chance of getting in the Everton team, I imagine. No. Although Dominic Calvert-Lewin's is on form, so it'd be maybe I'd probably, you know, mate, we'd find a way to fit them in.
Have Calvert-Lewin. Fuck it, we'll do a combined 11. Have Calvert-Lewin, right? Rashford on the left and Greenwood on the right. That's what I say, because Martial, even though he's a good player, he's not been up to it so far this season, has he? So I'll let you have Calvert-Lewin.
I think you're forgetting, in saying that, though, that James Rodriguez is the best player.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you are sort of forgetting. This is the thing. Richarlison's amazing. You know, James Rodriguez is world class.
You're right.
So I'm not saying we cancel each other out, but I think that's a very difficult area. I mean, you know, they might have to have a half each.
Well, I was actually thinking James Rodriguez in the midfield for a moment, but obviously, do you know what I mean? But then you look at Bruno Fernandes. He's not taking Bruno Fernandes' position, is he?
No, I don't. Not in centre midfield, because I don't think he could get round the pitch. It's not how we're playing him. It's different. I think we've both got players in the same kind of areas of the pitch that are good. I think if you start looking in the other areas, then we'd start be scratching our heads about who plays where. Yeah. To be honest.
Big time. So, Ped, if I could get your final predictions, then, mate, get it out there.
I'm gonna. Do you know what? I'll probably go for a 2-2.
Right.
Yeah, because I just think that with a bit more, I think defensively we've been shipping goals every game, and I don't see that changing, because I don't think we're going to change the personnel back there. So but I think we'll get, you know, we've got goals in us, so I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Brilliant. I'm going to go with a. Go on then. Let's have it. Let's have a 2-0 win. We'll have it. Come on. We're back on track in the Premier League, and we're gonna win the league. Nah. But to be fair, mate, the league is wide open, isn't it? The league actually is wide open. I know you got Liverpool getting results, and they're at the top at the moment, and you won't like to hear that, nor do I, mate. But they don't look like the Liverpool of last season. So if any team can pick up a bit of run of form, it's there for you, isn't it?
No, it's not. Let's be honest. It's not. It's either going to be Liverpool or Man City. Let's be honest. Let's not get silly now. Like, you know, as much as we'd all like to cry it in and pretend that they're not, they probably, it's going to be one of them too, isn't it? I mean, let's Can we just get, I mean, saying that, I was going to say, can we just get rid of them to a Super League? I mean, you can go as well if you want. And then Everton can just be the best team in the league. You can go and play in, you know, Vietnam and China and
America.
You know, LA and a bit in Buenos Aires, whatever you want. And we'll stay in the league and we'll just win it every year. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You can take Fred the Red and go round the world on tour and we'll stay at home and win everything. I think that's a fair deal.
What's it been like for you then as well? I mean, we were going to wrap up, but what's it been like for you being sort of in the shadow? I'm winding you up now. Being in the shadow of the big club in Liverpool.
I suppose it's probably the same as Manchester United being in the shadow of the big club in Manchester, isn't it? I mean, there's no real difference, is there? In fact, it's harder for you because you're in the shadow of Liverpool and Man City. So, I mean, that is a bad shadow to be in. So, I mean, as I said, go and have your Super League. You can finish mid-table in that and have a bit of fun, can't you? Sell some shirts and we'll dominate English football for the next 40 years. I'm all right with that. I'm quite fine because the shadow will be somewhere else then. So,
Ped, thanks so much for coming on the show today, pal. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to the game big time. I'm sure we'll stay in touch and probably get you back on when we do this sort of thing again. Make sure, guys, to subscribe to Toffee TV. Head over there for all the reaction and things like that to the Everton stuff and see the second best club in Liverpool react. I don't know why I'm slagging you off, mate.
Why are you slagging us off and standing up for Liverpool? What are you doing?
I can't help it, mate.
What kind of jag mank are you?
I'm sorry, I can't help but wind what's in front of me up. No, you're right. Come on, Everton. Come on, Everton. All right, Ped, thanks so much, pal. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, all.